So students, we have studied till now about agro-based industries, and now we are going to study about mineral-based industries here. So mineral-based industries are getting their uh, raw material as minerals. They take their raw material, and therefore they are mineral-based industries. In this sequence only, we are going to first of all study about iron and steel industry, and in this I'm going to read from the NCERT book. The iron and steel industry is the basic industry since all the other industries, heavy, medium and light, depend on it for their machinery. So here you will see that this iron and steel industry is a basic industry. Why do we call it as a basic industry? Because whatever type of products are manufactured in iron and steel company are actually further going to be processed, because they are not ready to be used as a final good, but the iron steel sheets or maybe bars, whatever is manufactured in these iron and steel companies, it is being used by some other companies, like that of automobile industry uses all this steel or iron for manufacturing their two-wheelers or four-wheelers. So therefore we call this iron and steel as a basic industry, and every other type of industry, maybe heavy industry or medium or small scale industry, are dependent on this iron and steel industry for their machinery, okay, because it is being manufactured from this iron and steel company only. Now steel is needed to manufacture a variety of engineering goods. So in the iron and steel industry only, this steel is manufactured from iron, okay, and we'll be seeing this procedure also, that how this steel is made from iron. But before this, we are seeing here that variety of goods are manufactured from steel, which includes engineering goods and construction material, defense, medical, telephonic, scientific equipment, and a variety of consumer goods. Okay, so many different type of products are made from this steel. So production and consumption of steel is often regarded as the index of country's development. So this iron and steel company, as the products made by this company, iron and steel is very important, because in every aspect of life, maybe from construction to any type of electronic goods or whatever, they need this iron and steel for its manufacturing. So therefore this iron and steel industry is very important industry, where a lot of people get employment, and with this economic development also used to take place from this iron and steel. So therefore we call it as the index of country's development, iron and steel industry. So iron and steel is a heavy industry. So why we call it as a heavy industry? Because the bulk and weight of the raw material as well as the finished goods is heavy, and therefore it is called as heavy industry. The raw material which is coming to the manufacturing unit is also heavy, and it is brought in bulk in a large amount, and because of this heavy raw material, the transportation cost is also very high, okay, and transportation cost here means expenditure that is to be done by the company on transportation of raw material from the mine to the company, okay, iron and steel company. So high cost of transportation is to be incurred by the company. Apart from this, iron ore, coking coal and limestone are required in the ratio of approximately 4:2:1. So to manufacture this pure iron, this ratio is given to us 4:2:1. In this ratio, three different items are required for the manufacturing of pure iron. Number one, iron ore. I have already told you that this iron ore are of there are two type of iron ores, magnetite and hematite, among which magnetite is the best ore of iron. Actually, this ore is a piece of a small rock which consists of many different type of minerals also in it, like maybe magnesium, calcium, or sand, dust particles, whatever. All these type of impurities are there in a rock piece, but the highest concentration is of iron in that particular rock. So that piece of rock or maybe ore is called as the iron ore, because the concentration of iron in that particular rock piece is in more quantity. So it will be called as a iron ore. Magnetite is the best ore of iron. If we are going to reduce pure iron from this ore, we have to take this iron ore, coking coal, and limestone. Okay, actually, this iron ore is taken from the mine, iron ore mine, and brought to the blast furnace. In the blast furnace, this limestone is also added in that blast furnace, and the blast furnace is heated up by this coking coal. What do you mean by this coking coal? Actually, this coal is actually coke means to heat it up in the absence of oxygen at about 600 degrees Celsius. When this coal is heated up in the absence of oxygen, then all the impurities from it is being removed, or the moisture content is removed, and a hard coal we get it. This is coking coal, and when this is used to heat up the blast furnace, it can raise the temperature of the blast furnace above 1000 degrees Celsius. So above 1000 degrees Celsius is the temperature at which the iron is going to melt, and in this blast furnace only this limestone is added. This limestone is a flux in the blast furnace. Okay, it is a big furnace, and in this limestone is acting as a flux, means a clearing agent. Whatever type of impurities are there in the iron ore, it is being removed from limestone with this limestone, and whatever solid particles are there, it is also removed, and then the pure iron in the melted form we get from this blast furnace. So the iron is actually being, this melted iron is actually poured into some molds, and the small pieces of iron, cuboidal shape, we get, which is called as pig iron. Okay, and from this pig iron only we can make steel. This pig iron is again, that is, pig iron means small pieces of reduced iron are again melted to make steel also. So this is the proportion 4:2:1, and some quantities of manganese. When steel is going to be hardened, then manganese is added to it to harden the steel. So how this steel is made actually, as I told you that first of all, this pig iron is taken, and small pieces, cuboidal shape, which we have got from the blast furnace. This pig iron is then melted, and again it is purified by melting and oxidizing the impurities. With this pig iron, manganese, nickel, chromium is added. Okay, so to get steel. So when this steel is going to be manufactured, then this steel is then rolled up and pressed and cast into different shapes. So whatever type of shape is required from steel, it is being to be poured into some steel ingots. Ye ingots are actually those molds in which the melted steel is poured, okay, and shape that we require we can get, okay, in those steel ingots. So these are actually molds. So this is how this steel is manufactured. In 2016, with 95.6 million tons of crude steel production, India ranked third among the world crude steel producers. So we in 2016 were the third in the world in the production of crude steel. This is the primary form of steel. It is the largest producer of sponge iron, and India is the largest producer of sponge iron. As I told you, it is the reduced iron in the form of small blocks, like which I told you, like those pig iron, okay, purified from the ore. In 2016, per capita consumption of steel in the country was only around 63 kg per annum. So in this consumption of steel also, we used to calculate the per capita consumption of steel in the country. So it was 63 kg per annum per year. But against world average consumption, if we take per capita, then it is 208 kg. According to this table given on page number 69, you will see that total production of finished steel in India was how much in 2002, in 2010 to 11. It was 68.62 metric tons per annum in 1 year. And apart from this, in 2016 to 17, it was 101.3 metric tons per annum. Annum means here year. If you see here that one question is given to us in the book only, why is the per capita consumption of steel so low in India? Why this per capita consumption of steel is so low? Okay, that on an average basis it is calculated that out of the total production, that per person how much steel is used, it is taken out on an average basis. So it is very low in India, near about 68 kg per annum, 63 kg per annum. Why this low consumption of steel is there in India? Because there are some reasons behind it. Number one reason is that this steel in India is of high cost, okay, where everyone cannot afford to buy it, or maybe lesser consumption is there because of high cost. And with this, there is also limited availability of coking coal. The availability of coking coal is not in a high rate in our country, and this is why the production is low. With this lower productivity of labor, the labor productivity is also low, which affects the production of steel. And apart from this, the third reason is that irregular supply of energy, or maybe power supply, which affect the production of steel. And poor infrastructure is also one of the another reason why this low consumption of steel is there in India. Apart from this, there are also mini steel plants. There are also some mini steel plants. What are these mini steel plants actually? Mini steel plants are smaller, whereas the large scale steel plants are using blast furnace, where the iron ore is being reduced to pure iron by adding limestone as a flux to it in the blast furnace. But in the mini steel plant, what happens is that electric furnaces are there. Through this electric furnace, the steel scrap is taken in the mini steel plants. Okay, directly iron ore is not taken in the mini steel plants, but steel scrap. This steel scrap means all the used up steel product that is in a junk. Okay, that steel is melted in the electric furnace, and after melting it, it is then uh, put in the molds to cast a particular shape. Okay, as I told you before also. So the mini steel plants are having electric furnaces, and they use steel scrap and also sponge iron. Uh, if not steel scrap, then sponge iron they also use. This sponge iron, as I told you, is the small pieces of iron, reduced iron, which we have got from the blast furnace. And these steel scrap or maybe sponge iron is then melted and then put into the steel ingots. These steel ingots, as I told you, are the molds only in which the melted steel is poured, and whatever type of shape is required, that is manufactured or casted. This is called as casting. It is taken out of that particular shape after cooling it. They produce mild and alloy steel of given specification. So the mini steel plants are producing mild or alloy steel also, according to the demand of the different consumers, means different industries, because iron and steel is a basic industry. Here, if you will see the whole process, it is given on page number 69. You will see there that the processing here requires what all things. First of all, the raw material is transported to the plant, iron and steel plant. Then it is taken to the blast furnace, where iron ore is melted. Limestone is added and acts as a flux, like cleaning agent, and slag is removed. Slag is a solid particles which are there in the as an impurity. It is also being removed away. And coke is burnt to heat the ore. This process I am reading, which is given at the bottom of page number 69. The second process is that in which the coke is burnt to heat the ore. Okay, this coke is same as I told you, coking coal. Molten material is poured into molds. The molten iron is poured into the molds, which is called as pig iron. This pig iron is then melted and oxidized to remove more impurities, and manganese, chromium and nickel is added to make it to make steel from it. And then these steel rods or bars are then turned into different shapes. So this is the whole procedure. Then if we'll move on to page number 71, on this page you will see that as I told you, as I have written here also, integrated steel plants. What are these integrated steel plants? Integrated steel plants are those type of steel plants where in one complex only, from the first stage of production, that is taking iron ore and reducing it to iron, pure iron, and then making steel, and after making steel, the shapes of the steel are also casted. It is used for casting. So from the primary stage to the last final stage, wherever the all these stages are of the steel making and converting into shapes, is done in one complex. That is called as an integrated steel plant. And the public sector undertakings, most of the public sector undertakings are marketing their steel through SAIL, Steel Authority of India Limited. And once there was a time period in 1950s when India and China was manufacturing steel at the insane quantity. But today, if we will see the graph which is given on page number 71, you will see there that China is producing a huge quantity, huge quantity of steel as compared to India. India is now lagging behind. Some of the reasons are also written down there only, that why this iron and steel in India is not produced up to its full potential. The reasons are, I have already told you, high cost and limited availability of coking coal, lower productivity of labor, and irregular supply of energy, and poor infrastructure are some of the basic problems that the production of iron and steel is not up to the full potential. We also import good quality steel, and still in India, good quality steel is imported in India, and the overall production of steel is sufficient to meet our domestic demand. So India is having abundance of iron ore, and which is why the domestic demand of this steel is fulfilled from the production within the country of steel. And from the time period, liberalization and foreign direct investment have given a boost to the industry with the efforts to private entrepreneurs. From the time liberalization policy was adopted by the government of India, that is in 1991. So after 1991 only liberalization was adopted, where most of the restrictions on the private sector industries were removed. Okay, well, most of the government restrictions were removed, and from that time period onwards, now private entrepreneurs are also making more efforts to enhance this iron and steel industry to prosper. And in this way, foreign direct investment (FDI) is also helping out to increase the use of steel in India. So there is a need to allocate resources for research and development to produce steel more competitively. So to produce good quality steel, more efforts are made, more research institutes are there which are doing the research that how this quality of steel could be made more better, because most of the consumers in India, some of the industries are demanding good quality steel from other countries. So why not make it in India only? Okay. So this was for iron and steel industry.